And at the bottom of all that poverty and filth and murder and everything that comes out of that community, at the bottom of all that is a diamond.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that diamond's rise to the surface comes with that story. You see what I'm saying? So, and I see how they play on it. These labels, man, they play on poverty.
Welcome, James. It's wonderful to have you back.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, in our last conversation, we explored the formation of your identity and your values, the journey that shaped you
Yes.
up to this point, in a bit of depth, and it was really incredibly interesting and powerful. Today, we continue that journey, going deeper into the experiences, the insight, and the vision that continue to shape your path and that the impact that you plan to have and will have on the world. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start with hip hop culture and influence. As the CEO and the national spokesperson of the Hip Hop Fraternity, what responsibility, bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're all human, even if we have all these titles. We still
Yeah.
sneeze and right.
Okay.
Okay, so as CEO national spokesperson of the Hip Hop Fraternity, what responsibility do you feel in guiding culture?
Well, I feel a heavy responsibility in shaping the narrative of the culture and its evolution um, in the process of evolving. So, one of the things that I'm really conscious about is the message
Mhm.
that hip hop is projecting. Um, when I say that, if you look at the new um, subculture of hip hop, which is drill rap,
Right, that's where
you know,
we ended the last conversation. Yeah.
you know, and I get a lot of questions about drill rap from people who want to know where I stand on that because of my moral stance on a lot of things, and I don't condone drill rap because it is drama filled. It is it's like a gun culture, a musical gun culture in a sense.
Mhm.
um and it's very harmful. So I'm also always trying to motivate hip hop artists to send positive messages to the youth. And going back to KRS-One and Leaders of the New School and Tribe Called Quest, and back during the conscious era of hip hop, during that time, once again, was the highest level of black youth, male youth enrolled in college because of the conscious rap era that was challenging these youth when it comes to linguistics and lyrical content. Nowadays, that category doesn't even matter. Like, you don't have to be a linguist anymore as a hip hop artist. You don't have to really indulge in the art of rap when it comes to the linguistics either. But the subject matter in conscious rap was very illuminated by the lyrical content category, and there was a stage of qualification and indulgence that reflected on the lyrical content prospect of rap and hip hop. So in that sense, there was actually a musical category called lyrical content that a lot of rappers competed heavily in winning this award because they knew that whoever was at the top of the lyrical content pyramid of hip hop was the best. And when you look at Rakim, when you look at Nas, when you look at KRS-One, these guys set the stage. So they set a bar that a lot of hip hop artists would strive very heavily to get to compare to them on that level of lyrical content. And that lyrical content mostly talked about the Black experience,
Yeah.
Black intelligence, and the ability to be a musical lyricist and linguist. So it was kind of like the gymnastics of hip hop.
And it was the first time that those experiences were in the mainstream in a way that was relatable and impactful, right? And where people felt like they
Exactly.
had a
Yeah.
place and they belonged and they were part of something, right?
Exactly. So a lot has changed and has been shifted since from then to now. So now, but we now we does it now what we call it is bubblegum rap, and that's because it's like a dumbing down of the lyrical content.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If it came back to lyrical content right now, 95% of rappers would not be able to compete. And that's the sad part about it. You know, if they said, okay, you can't rap about drugs, guns, you know, that would wipe out 50% of rappers right there. You know what I'm saying? So,
So,
but now you got to look at what they're being rewarded for now
yeah.
is drill rap, is killing each other, is the beef and the shootings, you know.
So
So
let's dig into that. Who are they being rewarded by and how?
the major record labels,
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
and you know, Kanye's a very controversial rapper. And but he said something that was true. He said, listen, if I said something that was demeaning to the Jewish demographic, I would be blackballed or ostracized. But if I say something that's demeaning to the Black community, nobody cares. Matter of fact, they're encouraging me to do that in my songs. He was right.
So, as CEO and national spokesperson, how are we going to reclaim hip hop as a tool for empowerment? Is there, I guess you're working with the 49 chapters. Is
Yeah.
that part of what you're working on?
Well, we have more than that, but
Yeah.
that's just
Oh,
in the United States.
oh, oh.
Our foundation of reclamation is in the education of the business side of the music industry. Once, because see, that's gonna weed out a lot of people that are not serious altogether, right there. You know, when we start, you know, approaching them with that curriculum, for them to take the initiative to be in control of their business, of the business side of, you know, the music industry as you know, um, that pertains to them and their masters, their royalties, their contracts, you know, understanding everything, because, you know, ignorance is no excuse at the end of the day. And if you look at someone who made a very bad decision in business, and when it came down to them just not knowing what happened, you know, I mean, there's people that you might be able to hold accountable at some level, but in a majority of cases, it's not. So we can't even use that as an excuse anymore. We want them to really understand how to, not only how to protect themselves, how to defend themselves, but also logistically how to, you know, account for their business acumen. So the education side of it right there, I think is going to start to instill a solid foundation, which we can build everything else from there, you know, and then start, you know, looking at lyrical content, start looking at accountability. So, you know, because if we're relying on the same labels that allow this to happen,
Yeah.
we're only going to be going back around in that circle. You see what I'm saying? Another thing that I'm promoting and developing is in our own internal level of distribution. So if you look at the Bay Area of California, they actually have a working model right now. They all came together with all the Bay Area rappers. They said, listen, we have enough support within this region right here to make sure that every artist that comes out of here goes platinum. And they literally moved out on it. Right now, the Bay Area is a whole independent music space that supports its artists 100% and make sure that they get what they need. And they did that because they didn't feel like they were being treated accordingly. They didn't feel like the artists that were coming out of the Bay Area were being treated fairly. The thing is, at that time, no artist was being treated fairly, but the Bay Area said, we don't like it, and we're going to do something about it. So we're going to come together collectively and make sure that the Bay Area rappers are supported and get whatever they need because we love their music and we don't want it to die out.
So is the Bay Area rappers' music more lyrical? Is it more positive?
No, the thing about the Bay Area has its own sound. Like, it's, yeah. Have you ever listen to E40?
No, but I will.
Too Short and those guys, like they have their own sound. And you know why? They don't care what we think about what they do. They love it, and that's their thing. And that's how we got to really look at things too. You know, New York has its own culture and sound for years. We just been so brainwashed by the major labels to think that we need them. So another thing that most artists don't understand is this. By the time a major label comes to you and said, yo, we like you, we want to sign you, by the time they do that, you already have everything it takes to do whatever you got to do without them. And they're paralyzing you not believing enough in yourself and knowing what I just said.
Yeah.
By the time a label even knows who you are, you have the potential to be the biggest. You're not even going to show up on their radar if you can't do for yourself what they want to do for you. And I tell artists this all the time, but sometimes they're so blindsided,
of course,
by the big label. They just want to be famous. And see, this is another part of poverty. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually writing a script about this, and it's going to be a big movie because it focuses on the bottom, and that's the name of the name is going to be called The Bottom.
Wow.
Because these labels literally go to the worst place, the worst projects throughout the United States, the worst housing developments throughout the United States, the worst slums. If you look at some of the biggest rappers coming from Fort Greene projects, coming from Cabrini Green in Chicago, coming from Watts Stacks in California, these are some of the most notorious territories in the United States. Okay, but guess what? They're all these black developments that are in the worst communities. And at the bottom of all that, some of the greatest rappers. And I'm not saying, so it's not so much that it's just because they live there.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to get to the bottom of the bottom, you start to see people that realize, listen, the only way I could get out of here is by really going into that studio and pouring my heart out about my life story and where I've come from and what it took to get here. Those kind of stories, that kind of lyrical content is so impressive because it also coincides with the American dream of you being from somewhere that nobody even cared about.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow telling your story has gotten the attention of millions of people all around the world. And they want to hear more about it. And this is something that can only happen in America. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if you look at that, the Black experience, the American dream, the bottom of the barrel, all of this stuff kind of starts to resonate as it rises. But now also, when you talk about the bottom, you start to look at what makes diamonds. Millions and millions of pounds of pressure make diamonds.
Right.
And at the bottom of all that poverty and filth and murder and everything that comes out of that community, at the bottom of all that is a diamond.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that diamond's rise to the surface comes with that story. You see what I'm saying? So And I see how they play on it. These labels, man, they play on poverty, and then they also understand that, number one, this is probably somebody that's not going to know about the business side of the music industry.
Of course.
This is somebody that's probably going to be so happy to be involved with us that they're not going to ask the questions that they need to be asking with this level of money on the table. See what I'm saying? They're probably not even going to go get all the money they need because they're going to be so infatuated with the cars and other things and the perks. So they kind of target people in these situations, and we could, systemically too. So, it's really hard to trust the major labels now after all these years of the rip-offs, the payola, and I'm go back in the days when you'd have a old school artist who has a record with 3 other people's names on it that has absolutely nothing to do with the song itself. They didn't write it, they didn't produce it, but they're getting publishing and royalty checks from the songs. You know what I'm saying? And it's been going on for a long time. So yeah, I'm sorry. I think I went.
No, it's important. I mean, a lot of people, you'd think people would know more about this, but many people don't. I'd say most people don't, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there isn't enough uproar in the communities, all communities, really.
Well, there's a lot of payoffs too that avoid lawsuits and avoid a lot of the stories from being, to come out. There's a lot of stories that can never be told because they've signed, papers, non-disclosures, and things like that. Of course, when it comes along with a settlement, you have to sign some papers saying I can't even talk about it.
Yeah.
So a lot of that has happened over the years too.
Yeah. Where do you think hip hop is healing us at this point? Is there anywhere, or do you think it's hurting us more? Where do you think it stands right now?
Right now, I think one of the only healing components in hip hop is that it's a sanctuary for the young people to have a voice. I just wish that the narrative in that sanction was more positive, but it's definitely a voice for the young people.
Yeah.
It's a platform for them. It's somewhere for them, no matter how destructive it might be in some ways, it's theirs, and you can't deny them of that, especially when it comes to their expression and their culture, yeah. And, there's so many ways that it could be more of a healing component. I mean, music in itself is a healing component, but now this is something a lot of people don't know about too. A lot of the music coming out now is calculated to a demonic frequency, and it can possess you in a way too. You see what I'm saying?
I'm hearing a lot more people talking about frequencies. I'm not that knowledgeable about it. Can you speak more on that?
Yeah, there's different levels, different numbers, and things. So when I talk about that, and when I first started really getting into this, it's when I said, okay, if this is demonic, then what is that? And I started finding out that Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, the Beatles, some of the greatest artists of all times, music was calculated to a frequency of love. And some of those people was killed because that love force energy was so dynamic,
Wow.
And these labels sometimes they get notorious too, when they start trying to control things, and even with the calculation. And see, this happened. There was I forgot which rap group it was, but they said that there was a guy standing outside the studio with a shotgun, and nobody could come into the studio. And they said later on they found out that what was happening inside of that studio was they took the master of the music and no, they were mixing it down. And during the mix down, they were calculating that frequency and that during that process. So the artist could lay the vocals and you could lay down the track and the music and everything, but it still has to be, you know, mix and master.
Yeah, yeah.
During that, and a lot of times the artist is not involved in that equation or not there, you know. So I've heard a lot of things, but now just looking back and really understanding what that could mean, what could be happening with
Wow.
a demonic frequency
Yeah,
of
yeah.
music calculation. You know, um, like I said, I don't know the full extent of it, but just understanding.
Yeah, some
It,
people get very deep into that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, so even if there was a healing component, that's something that could reverse it right there.
Well, that's why they need to have representation in the contract that they have final say on what's put out, right?
Creative control, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, because that can just destroy their whole message and their whole reason they're doing this, right?
yeah. Now, well, some of them, you know, some of them are down with it, but some of them are not. So some of them know that this is happening and know what's going on, and some of them don't. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to move on to another topic in a minute, but I mean, it seems like overall, Black and brown communities are under assault, right? In this time, more
Yeah.
than ever in my lifetime, um, and things are being reversed quickly. So it's incredibly important, right, what you're doing with the hip hop fraternity and working not to have this finally this place where people feel they belong, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, brought to that brought into that terrible place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got a big mission there. Really important mission, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much. Um, is there anything else you want to say about this before we move on to another topic? Anything else you want to share on this, on hip hop and what's happening with it and what it means to the culture and the community and the importance?
You know, hip hop is. I think hip hop is also a state of mind too. You know, without just the music aspect of it, because when you look at genres of music that impact culture, it's more than just music now.
Yeah.
You know, I know people that are really not so much into the music, but are engulfed in the culture. You know, so when it gets to that point, it's kind of takes on a whole nother energy of its own, and starts to be so when hip hop became a global impact.
Mm-hmm.
When you got
Very much is. Yeah.
when I met Fred the Godson, who was one of the greatest rappers, one of the greatest lyricists I ever met.
Say his name again.
Fred the Godson. You got to check him out. I mean,
I will.
unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years back. What happened was I had the honor of playing a detective in his music video, and you know, when I came to the set, I was already like in character. And when I came in, he looked up at me and thought I was a real cop, and he like dropped the weed and everything. I was like, no, I'm here I'm here for the music video. He's like, oh man, you perfect. Yeah. So we hit it off, and but he told me that when he went to Japan for the first time to perform, he didn't speak any Japanese, and he was kind of uncomfortable because he didn't know how they were gonna receive him. But he said when he started rapping, and every single Japanese person in that club started rapping his song.
Wow.
He said that he couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Because he said he couldn't imagine a Japanese rapper coming over here in the Bronx and everybody in the audience being able to rap in Japanese. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes I'm like, wow, that's crazy. You know, when you got Michael Jackson over in these countries that don't even speak English and everybody knows the song. You know, I was in a meeting not too long ago with some really big reggaeton artists. You ever heard of reggaeton?
Yeah, sure.
These guys were like multimillionaires. And they're in this meeting talking to some record executives from America, some hip hop record executives. I was one of them, you know. And they said, listen, man, we got millions of dollars. We don't even all we want to do is we want to be famous in America and we want to be accepted by the hip hop community. He said, we'll pay whatever we gotta pay. I'm looking at these guys and said, are y'all serious? Yo, like, if I had their money, I wouldn't even be worried about, I'll be in another country somewhere doing something else. Probably some entrepreneur stuff or feeding the homeless, you know. But these guys, they just wanted to be accepted into the hip hop culture.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do songs with hip hop artists. And you know, and I love it and everything, but I just like, it just blew my mind just to see they've already attained major success in other countries, but they was more worried about being famous here. And that's the kind of, you know, draw that it has on you. You know what I'm saying? Especially as an artist, because hip hop is global now. And like I said, it's taking on a whole nother level of energy. And that's a very important thing because you also have to understand the next generation coming up and the next generation after that and the next generation after that, they're all going to be falling right in line with the new form of hip hop.
Yeah.
New sound.
Yeah.
But it's going to be hip hop has taken some, you know, I'm just thinking back in the days, like they had to, before hip hop was originated, what I just couldn't imagine. You know, it kind of reminds me of when I was about 5 years old on Christmas Day. We were all opening up all these presents. And I look over at my mother and father and said, man, they don't got no toys. We thought they would, how could you not want to play with toys? You know, I couldn't understand that. You know, like, and I'm talking to my brother, so they got no toys. They bugging, you know. And now, as an adult, I look at them and I said, you know what? My joy is seeing you guys enjoy the toys. But as a child, you can't understand that part, you know. So, in that same sense, I'm saying to the people back in the 60s, 50s, and 40s who had no hip hop platform, you know. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the greatest songs of all time,
yeah,
were made between, in my opinion, 1968 and 1988. That's like the 20 golden years of
I was
music.
lucky enough to have those be my formative years. Yeah.
You know, and that's my opinion. Although, like I said, I love hip hop, but before hip hop, I was really engulfed in that kind of, you know, that level of music. But when you look at jazz, rhythm and blues, funk, you know, and all these different genres of music, there's about 10 different genres of jazz altogether, you know, bebop, fusion, and all this stuff. So each level was something that appealed to the youth. And then the evolution of music started putting out subcultures of music that also appealed to youth too. Now we have hip hop, which is like a universal hub. and it's an official mainstay now, because there was a time when they said, "Oh, this is just a phase. It's gonna die out." Yeah, those guys were like, you know. But I'm glad that we have it, because it does give a voice,
Yeah.
and it gives them something to be a part of.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the Peace Cafe, you know, that platform automatically references the youth, and we get a lot of performers who say, "Oh man, we want to perform," and I'm like, "Okay, come through, get on the mic. We got the live band here if you want to play with the band, or you could just give your track and then put your to the DJ and he'll put your track on." And it's such a great experience, because these guys, they don't have to pay. It's a safe haven, a
Good.
safe environment,
Yeah.
and it's a creative space too, and it gives them an opportunity to showcase their talent creatively.
Very important.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very important to have
Yeah.
these safe spaces
Yes.
for the youth, because everybody's not shooting and
Of course.
gang banging,
Sure.
but if you don't
And
have,
most don't want to be. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? But if there's no alternative, then a lot of people kind of fall through the cracks and fall in line to what is there,
Right. Of course.
you
Of
know?
course. So thank you for being part of working hard to turn this around so that it stays a viable, sustainable place for goodness and love, and stays in the frequency of love, and moves more towards that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So important. Thank you for that.